If you've ever wondered what it's like to world school your kids in Vietnam, then you're going to want to stick around. We're Shane and Tara, and together with our 2 young kids, we've spent the last 3 months world schooling in Hoi An, Vietnam. In this video, you're going to take a look at what our days really look like, as well as what you should know before you come here, and exactly what makes Hoi An one of the favourite world schooling destinations around the world. Let's dive in. Okay, let's start with why we chose Hoi An, Vietnam to world school at. So I think it's important to know that this is our very first world schooling experience. And we approached world schooling with a bit of our criteria on where we wanted to go first. So it looked like being close to the beach, having a low cost of living so that we could, enjoy everything without breaking the budget. It looked like going somewhere that had a really rich cultural experience as well as a strong expat community. And at the same time had an established world schooling community so that our kids could kind of navigate this first time being overseas with friends that they could instantly meet, activities that they could instantly join, and feel like they really belonged to a part of this experience that wasn't just kind of being a tourist. So after posting that criteria in the World Schooling Facebook group, we actually had a lot of people suggest different places around the world, but Hoi An was one that kept coming up. And I had a friend that had lived here in Hoi An, Vietnam, and we decided to just jump straight in. We'd never been here before, but exposing ourselves to the community that was already here and kind of seeing that it ticked a lot of our boxes, we just went for it. Now, for those that maybe don't know what world schooling is, it can be defined in many different ways depending on who you are. I think that just because you world school doesn't mean that you are going to have the same values as another person that world schools. You can see life very differently. You can see education very differently. The only thing that you might have in common is the fact that you travel at the same time as educating your children. And your children don't go to a consistent space for their education long term. So the way that we define world schooling is essentially living our life, unschooling, if you know that term, but at the same time incorporating various structured learning opportunities for our kids to essentially learn what they need to learn through life and through other people and other experiences while we travel the world and grow together as a family and really use travel as an experience to expand what we know about ourselves, about the world around us, and everything that there is to know about the future that we're walking into. On our trip so far, we've encountered world schoolers who utilize the local education systems in the destinations that they travel to. We've also met people that do distance education and they learn via an online component where they're connected to their school back home and they happen to travel at the same time. And then there's others who don't follow any set curriculums or aren't kind of reporting to any kind of educational program back home. And they're essentially learning through life and allowing their kids to learn about kind of those core elements of their education through experiences, activities, interactions with other people, and whatever kind of learning style suits them. So knowing that, I feel like Hoi An actually meets a lot of those different types of world schoolers in the sense that there is a very structured and organized and consistent community here in Hoi An that allows you to plug into a lot of activities and scheduled things if that's your way of world schooling. And at the same time, if you love to just kind of be more carefree, kind of pop in and out, that's also open to you as well. You're going to be able to attend like gatherings and meetups where you're going to just have that social interaction, but maybe not participate in more of the structured learning. And it's also a location where you can very comfortably live within your means, do online distance education from your home, and you can also spend the rest of your time immersing yourselves in cultural experiences, local experiences, getting to know your neighborhood, all of that kind of stuff. Now, I will say that Da Nang, which is the city closest to Hoi An, about 45 minutes north, is also a really popular world schooling destination. So they also have a thriving world schooling community. But again, it's in a city environment, whereas Hoi An is more of like a beach town that also has the old ancient town. It also has a lot of beautiful rice fields, and it just feels like it's a lot more laid back and smaller, kind of tight-knit than maybe Da Nang in the city environment. So depending on what your personal preference is in terms of like your living environment, you're going to want to choose between Da Nang and Hoi An. But a lot of people do kind of commute between the two. If there's certain events or activities that are happening in one, then they'll kind of travel there. It's really not that hard to do. But I can only speak from my experience, which is living and world schooling in Hoi An. I think the first thing that surprised me about world schooling in Hoi An, and especially it being our first world schooling experience, was the fact that it just felt so easy. Like it felt really easy for our kids to kind of enter into this community, instantly meet people, like us parents meeting other parents that were like-minded, the kids meeting other kids that were like-minded. The social element just felt really effortless because there was a consistent, structured community that kind of grew organically, and there was established things here to support world schoolers. And that made our first world schooling experience so incredibly easy and just felt like, hey, we can do this wherever we are, anywhere in the world. Like this is amazing. We have learned that what is here in Hoi An is considered to be really good. And from families that we've spoken to that have done world schooling hubs or things in various locations around the world, they have said that this Hoi An experience for them has been at kind of the top for them. Like it hasn't necessarily been this easy, or the community hasn't felt as active everywhere they've gone. And so it was kind of put out there that, we've kind of got it good from the very beginning, which, has its pros and cons. I think, if we go to different places after this and it kind of doesn't feel as easy, or it feels like there's less going on, we'll probably always compare back to Hoi An. But I feel really grateful to have had Hoi An as our first world schooling experience, because I think that it allowed the kids to have an introduction to it that was smooth, and allowed us as parents to have an introduction to it that was smooth as well. And we now know what it is that we want, what we value, what it is we want to look for from communities in other destinations. And I think that's kind of priceless, especially as a first-time world schooler. So let's dive into our daily life here. So we follow a little bit more of an unstructured, unschooling approach. However, we do use various online resources to support my 7-year-old with his maths, his English, and things like that. So he does some online programs, and we do some, workbooks and things like that, but it's quite unstructured. And we predominantly, our days look like attending various activities and meetups, so that we can kind of get learning through those group environments, and then we can kind of work on any one-on-one learning in our spare time. So a typical day for us might look like going along, say, to a reading circle and a book swap on a Monday morning at a local cafe, and having that kind of connection to different books, finding new books to read, swapping with other kids in a very social environment. It also might look like going to some structured activities. So some of the activities that we've gone to whilst we've been here in Hoi An include a mechanics workshop, cooking classes. We go to once or twice a week, we go to a weekly chess meetup, which my son really enjoys. He does regular Muay Thai classes. We've gone to recycled plastic workshops, gymnastics classes, beach meetups, various sports like badminton and pickleball. We also go to the library quite often. And then we've also had like group outings and experiences that we've organized with the world schooling community, like day trips out to Cham Islands, for example, where we coordinated a boat full of world schooling families to go out, enjoy the Cham Islands for the day all together, and then come back at the end of the day. So those kind of like outings and field trips are something that I feel like is really, really beneficial when you're in a brand new place and you want to go do those kind of touristy things, but it is helpful to be able to do them together where there's other kids and you can use those opportunities to get to know other parents and learn their stories. I think that's probably one of my favorite parts of world schooling, is getting to meet all the parents from around the world, understand their story, learn their perspective on life, what it is that makes them who they are and where they've come from, and having the kids get to learn about other kids around the world too, whether they are English speaking or not, whether they have had similar backgrounds or not. I feel like it's provided us with an opportunity to just broaden our perspective on like what it means to live in this world, what it means to kind of have a family and seek out growth opportunities and just live in alignment with your values. There have been a lot of activities that we haven't done, maybe because my son's a little bit younger or we just haven't got around to them. And some of those have looked like various writing groups for the older kids, STEM meetups. They do Minecraft gatherings, like kind of board game meetups. There's an entrepreneur makers market that I believe has just started, and other kind of local workshops too with various vendors and local providers. So like soap making, bamboo workshops, lantern making, peanut butter workshops. There's literally so many things available. And for such a small little town, I feel like the abundance of opportunities and workshops and learning opportunities is just like you could spend every single day doing a different activity and you would just not get bored. And I think that is something like that variety of both local experiences and then educational opportunities provided by other parents or those that maybe have a little bit of a background in education within that world schooling community has just been so valuable, because there really is a really diverse opportunity for kids to learn. And it doesn't have to look like structured, sit down and do a workbook kind of learning. It is learning through life. I feel like world schooling is this opportunity to use travel as an opportunity to learn in different ways, in ways that are multi-layered, where you're not just learning the thing, but how you learn it is different, who you learn it with is different, and the context, the environment that surrounds you as you learn it gives you different opportunities to put it into practice or take different things from it. So it's really been an eye-opening thing for us around not just different ways to learn, because we were already homeschooling when we left Australia, but it has actually been a really awesome way for us to see how much these kind of group experiences with new people, how much they can just help your kids thrive. Another thing that kind of affects our day-to-day life as a Worldschooling family is, of course, the age of our kids. So our kids are 3 and 7. So naturally, there's going to be some activities that they don't participate in. There is a very big teen community here in Hoi An. So there's a whole side to this Worldschooling community that I know nothing about because my kids are not teens. But if you have teens, it is a really popular destination for your kids to come and learn and just socialize with other kids their age. So aside from the age group as well, the season that you arrive in Hoi An is going to matter as well. We came in summer, so the 3 months that we have Worldschooled here so far have been the summer months. And that has meant that a lot of the outdoor activities are kind of early in the morning, later in the afternoon. You do have to kind of cater your schedule to meet the heat and kind of stay out of the heat as much as possible because the summers here are quite intense. But another factor of that is if you're going to come later on in the year, it's also kind of typhoon season and the rainy season, and that also does kind of put a dampener on things. So knowing when you're coming and making sure that you're coming at a time that aligns with the weather, and they kind of, like, there is stuff year round, there's community here all year round, but I think depending on what kind of activities you want your children to experience while they're here, I'd say coming in the spring, probably February through to May, is going to mean that you have the best possible weather for all the things that you want to do. So I think if you ask my kids what their favorite part of Worldschooling in Hoi An would be, I think they would say 100% is the community. Like, they've met some great friends here. They've met really incredible people, and we've met incredible parents as well. That has been a real big highlight for us. And these are people that I feel like we will stay in contact with for a really long time, because not only have they had a similar experience to us of, taking that leap and traveling around the world and Worldschooling their kids and all that comes with that. But they're just really beautiful, genuine people too. So that's something that I think both us and the kids will walk away with, is these really beautiful relationships. But outside of that, I think they would probably say just the opportunity to go to these like consistent activities that they've been able to kind of grow with and grow through. So for example, the chess classes, the Muay Thai classes, like watching them grow through these activities, through being able to consistently go to these things over a period of time. Like, I think we opt to slow travel. So being in one place for 3 months or more allows us to like develop that consistency and have that routine for them. And I think they've really thrived with that. I think kind of moving every 2 weeks or even every month can kind of feel a little bit more faster paced and doesn't really allow the kids to really get into the community and really, just watch their own progress through things. So I'd say them getting to kind of feel proud of, their progress in various activities has been a highlight for them, and definitely a highlight for us as parents. And another one I think they would say is just the variety of activities. I think knowing that there's just so much for them to do and they don't have to do it all, and we can take life as slow as we want. But to know that there's so much on offer, I think has been a big help, especially for my son who's manifesting generator. If you know him in design, he loves kind of all the options. He's very multi-passionate. So I think knowing that there's so much on offer for him has made a real difference for him in just getting really excited to be here. When I think about what we have loved as parents outside of obviously the relationships that we've made, I think with Worldschooling in Hoi An, I've really loved the fact that the cost of living is so affordable here. And it's meant that we've been able to actually participate in all the activities and, do the things that, maybe you would restrict back home because of the cost of living. So being able to just not worry too much about, can we sign the kids up to that? Or do we have to pull back a little bit? That just hasn't been a conversation because everything is so affordable. So a class might be anywhere from, 50,000 dong to maybe 250,000 dong, which in Australian dollars is anywhere from $3 to $15. Most activities sit on the lower end. So you really do feel like you can take your pick of activities without worrying too much about the budget. Being in Hoi An, I also love the fact that everything is so close. So if we want to go to activities, everything's within like 5 to 10 minutes. We do ride a bike here in Hoi An that fits all 4 of us on it. It allows us to kind of easily get to activities and things like that. Obviously, grabs are very cheap as well. But I love that we're never really sitting in traffic to get to an activity. I love that there's no kind of like Monday morning kind of like, if we want to participate in this community, I need to be across town at 9 a.m. on a Monday. Like, that's not the lifestyle we've opted into. That's why we choose to, or one of the reasons why we choose to homeschool or world school, right? We don't want to be stuck to, those kinds of routines where we're in traffic on a Monday morning. So knowing that everything is super close by, everything is super relaxed, everything is very accessible to us, and we're not sitting in traffic is a huge, huge plus. Okay, so let's get into some of like the nitty gritty questions, challenges, realities of what it's really like to world school here in Hoi An. So obviously you want to have a really good internet access if you're remote working or if you're also doing any online study. And I can say that we've actually found the internet here in Hoi An to be better than ours back home in Australia. So there are, of course, power outages from time to time, which are usually scheduled, but obviously you have the spontaneous one here or there. There are also areas of Hoi An that do flood, so you kind of want to make sure you're living in a flood-prone area. But from like a tech internet standpoint, we've had zero issues, and so that's been really, really handy. From a language barrier perspective, so we find that a lot of Vietnamese people actually do speak English or some English, and we've actually had zero issues with getting by with English. Of course, you want to be able to speak some common words in Vietnamese to be able to connect with the locals that maybe don't speak as much English, but it is really doable to come to Vietnam, world school, stay long term, and not really have to learn the language completely. Okay, safety, transport, healthcare. Honestly, I feel so safe in Vietnam and I feel so safe with my kids. I've had zero safety concerns whilst here. It feels like a really safe place to just let your kids run around and not really worry. And also on the healthcare side of things, they have a really great healthcare system. So it's very affordable, very reliable. We haven't had to use the healthcare system here yet, but everything that we've heard about going to the local hospitals and things like that, like 5-star reviews. And then transport, as I said, we use a bike to get around. You really do need a bike to get around, in my opinion. You can obviously take Grabs everywhere, but it's not really a walkable place. You will need to have some kind of transport. I think when you world school anywhere, there's going to be things that you find harder or that are a bit unexpected. And for me, the one thing that I could probably, my only downfall of Hoi An, Vietnam as a world schooling destination would probably be, and this didn't help that we actually came in the summer, but the lack of like outdoor nature experiences. So being able to go hiking or being able to just like be out in nature all day, taking the kids to the local park. Like there aren't any outdoor local playgrounds. I think there's one and like maybe a tiny little one in Hoi An, but they're very exposed to the sun. They're all quite old and there's a lot of garbage kind of around, and they're very, they're just not anywhere near, you know, the kind of playgrounds that you would have back home in Australia, right? And so not having those outdoor play spaces, nature spaces has been harder for us, but we've just made the most of all the other things that are on offer. And of course, being in summer, it hasn't really helped because we didn't really want to be outside for, you know, the big chunks in the middle of the day. So having the beach close by obviously helps with that a lot. We just spend a lot of time at the beach. But if there was one thing I would change about Hoi An and what's on offer here is, you know, having more of those outdoor play spaces, nature spaces, and yeah, some hiking opportunities. So I think that kind of wraps up a bit of a summary on what it's like to world school here in Hoi An. If you have any questions, please pop them down below. I'm happy to answer any questions you've got about it. I have put together a bit of a list of all of our favorite locations and spots and things to kind of know about world schooling here in Hoi An. So if you want to get that, the link is down below in the description and I'll send that over to you. But essentially, our world schooling experience in Hoi An has been nothing short of amazing. I would highly recommend it to any family wanting to embark on a world schooling journey. And yeah, I really hope this video is kind of giving you a glimpse into what it's really like. And of course, if you like this video, please like it and subscribe. Your support means the world to us. Every single subscribe supports us in being able to share more of these videos with you. Thank you so much for following along. It means a lot to us. And yeah, continue to follow us on our journey as we discover more world schooling destinations around the globe.
What I mean when I see what I feel when I